right, everyone, we are back. Get back on the screen. Let's get this rolling. All right, let's do a quick sound check. Just want to make sure. Thumbs up. Can you hear me? Screen is good. Awesome. All right. Huh. Gifts or gifts? You're trying to redeem yourself from going somewhere else. Is that what it is, Heather? I see what you're doing. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll check them out in a little bit. Thank you so much. All right. Let's rock and roll. I know we're late. Let's rock and roll. I'm looking at my phone, so okay. All right, Peter, you're fired. Whatever you're doing, you're fired. That's it. All right, guys. So Chapter 20. This is a really short chapter. In fact, I'm just going to focus on a few things. Andrea, don't stress so much because you haven't done this chapter yet, what I'm going to address now. So I'm going to talk about Chapter 5, 6, and 7 a little bit here. So again, if you don't know, don't stress. You're going to learn that tomorrow, starting tomorrow, okay? So transfer of title, guys, I already have it highlighted here. Obviously, if you have the physical book, this is all you need to highlight, but focus more on the ebook, and then you can highlight if you want. What I'm addressing here is very simple. Alienation of title is transfer of title. So it's when it goes from the seller to the buyer. There's a new owner, so there's an alien on the land. So brand new person on the land, right? So that's alienation, transfer. Now there's voluntary, and there's involuntary alienation. Voluntary alienation or voluntary transfer, we have a few different ones that you guys might remember. Usually I ask you guys, I'm just going to go straight forward. We have gift, sale, or exchange, right? And gift could be in the form of a deed, or it could be in a will, right? It's willing, right? You want to. So it's a gift. It could be a sale where you're selling to somebody else, or exchange with somebody else, as you guys know. These are voluntary. That means you want to do it this way. The involuntary transfers or involuntary alienation are the ones you're being forced to do. For instance, we have involuntary alienation. We will have Escheat is one of them. Okay? What else we have? We have foreclosure. So when there's a delinquent tax or mortgage lien, they will foreclose on you. When somebody dies intestate, that means without having a will, you will have Escheat, as I was saying. We have eminent domain, which is where the government takes the property for public good, and they compensate you for that, supposedly, right? At least a fair compensation. But they're forcing you out of your property, and they have their right through, again, eminent domain. Foreclosure, we already talked about that. You also have partition. When there's two or more people that own a property as TICs, or so tenants in common, or as JTs, or anything like that, you have the right to partition, the right to divide. If you can divide the property or the land, then it's a physical partition, if you guys remember, right? But if there's no way to divide the land, then they'll force the property to be sold, and that becomes a judicial partition. You remember that? All right? Andrea, are you playing the harmonica? Or is she beatboxing? Andrea, what are you doing? You're scaring me. Sorry, just kidding. All right. She's putting a beat behind what I'm saying right now with a partition. That's what it was. All right. Next thing we got is one more involuntary transfer, right? It's called erosion. Now, erosion means nature is taking property away from you. There's accretion, which is gaining or adding property, right? And erosion is losing property. So accretion is addition or increase of property. Erosion, they take the property away from you. Okay? You were reading Involuntary Alienation out loud while beatboxing. Got it. Hey, whatever works. Adverse possession. This is another type of involuntary alienation. If you guys remember, adverse possession is when somebody steals your property illegally, right? When somebody takes over. So easement by prescription or squatter's rights, it means exactly the same. Okay, you guys remember this? Thumbs up if you remember this stuff. Okay, great. So it's a quick summary. That's what it is. Something to remember about adverse possession is that because you've been there for 20 years doesn't give you the title or the right to the property, right? You've been there for 20 years, then it gives you a right to claim the right. Does that make sense? So you've been there for 20 years using the property. Now you can go in front of a judge and say, Your Honor, I've been here for 20 years. Nobody showed up to claim it. Could you please allow me to have the rights to use the property? Judge will say, yes, no problem. But now you're like, well, if I got the right to use the property, nobody claimed it, can I also take over the title? Meaning, can I be the actual owner of the property now? Or the section that I'm using? And the answer is yes. You can file a suit to quiet title. Okay, this is one of the ways to take over the actual property. So Lewis, there's just got to say that as far as 30 years or 20 years, adverse possession is 20 years for regular properties, 30 years for land. But anyway, either different states have different laws. For New Jersey, it's 20 and 30 years, okay? We just address the 20 years for regular properties. All right. Next, and this is where we're going to slow down and focus, we have transfer of a deceased person's property, all right? So we talked about regular transfers, right? Voluntary, involuntary, right? But when somebody dies, there could also be voluntary or involuntary transfers, right? So we have here intestate, that means you died without a last will and testament. So intestate is without a testament, right? Testate, that means you prepared a last will and testament, and you appointed somebody to execute the will. All right, so these are two terms you got to remember. Now, let's say you are the heir to property, to money, to whatever. You are the heir. Do you guys get the money? Do you guys get the property when somebody dies? You will, but only after everything is probated. What does that mean? What is probate? That means all claims against the estate must be satisfied. So, if I own $1 million worth of property, right? But I owe $999,000 in debt, then guess what? My kids, my 4 kids will inherit $1,000. Not each, all $1,000. They're not going to be very happy with me. Not at all, right? So remember, I'm not even talking about taxes, Stephen. Not even taxes. I'm just talking about all claims against the estate. We're talking about having debt. Debt needs to be paid first before it goes to the heirs. Why do you guys think life insurance is so important? This is one of the reasons. If you owe $1 million worth of property, worth of debt, then insure yourself for $1 million, because if you die, do you think your heirs need to have that burden to pay all those bills for you in order to get their the property where they live, let's say? Right? Do you think it's fair? It's not. Right? So very, very important, because there's probate. They don't get, hey, this is all yours, right? No. It's, hey, this is all yours, but let's see if anybody's going to claim. Hey, creditors, anybody? Come on. $1 million. Anybody? And if they show up and say, yeah, well, here's the bill, $900,000 for the mortgage. Well, that got to be paid first. You guys got it? That's how it works. So in probate proceedings, the funeral's enough? What do you mean? The expense? So yeah, Louis, everything through court, and that's what we're going to address right now. Oh yeah, the expense. At least, if you have nothing else, at least the insurance for the funeral. Absolutely. Mina, I'm going to talk about that in a second. So probate proceedings. This goes through court, right? So court determines who gets what. If you have a will, then you're going to have also an executor. Executor is named in the will. If you don't have a will, then the court will name an administrator of the estate. Okay? So you got to remember these terms. Executor, that means there's a will. You gave your will to somebody to execute for you in case you die tonight, because that's what a last will and testament is. Hey, if I die tonight, this is how I want you to distribute my assets. Okay? That's what it is. If you don't have one, then the court will determine how to distribute your assets. All right? Or not. We're going to talk about that in a second. All right? Now, transfer of title by will. A last will and testament is an instrument made by an owner to voluntarily convey title to the owner's property after his or her death. So a will takes effect only after the death of the decedent. Until that time, any property covered by the will can be conveyed by the owner. So in my will, my kids get everything. Okay? In my will, my kids get everything. But I'm still alive, right? Right? Yeah, pulse. All right, so I'm still alive. Can I sell all my assets right now? Can I sell everything I have right now while I'm alive? And the answer is yes. While I'm alive, I can do whatever I want. A last will and testament doesn't mean I'm dying. A last will and testament means, hey, if something happens, because we don't know tomorrow. Actually, I don't know the next 5 minutes. Does that make sense? So we don't know. Be ready. That's what it is. Okay? So if I die tonight, they get the property. If I don't, I'll sell all the property. Does that make sense? I can do whatever I want while I'm alive. Now, a party who makes a will is known as a testator or testatrix if it's female, and the gift of real property is known as a devise. Do you guys remember this word? Whoever receives the property is called a devisee. Do you guys remember the word devise? Great. So let me know, what is a demise? D-E-M-I-S-E. What is a demise? If you remember devise, then you should remember demise. Beautiful. Lewis says, devise is a transfer by will, while a demise is a transfer by lease. Gotta remember that. Okay? I've been saying that over several chapters to remember demise and devise and the difference between them. Okay? Ah, cool. Lewis, I never done that one, but here we go. M close to the L, V close to the W. If that works, devise, V is close to the W, so will. That's probably a nice way to remember. Okay? You guys good? Vanessa, why are you shaking your head? It's very simple. Now, you guys remember that I said in my will, my children are the heirs? You guys remember I said that? Okay, cool. So, here's another thing. In Jersey, children can be disinherited. So if they don't behave, I already told them I'm going to cut you off the will. I even told my 2-year-old, said, don't behave, you're going to see what's going to happen. Off the will. He still doesn't behave. Anyway, Crystal, you're about to ask about my wife? You want to meet her? We're talking about wills. Alright, so here's the thing. In New Jersey, children can be disinherited, but a surviving spouse, Chad, beware, is entitled to at least 1/3 of the estate. And the determination of the augmented estate is a complex calculation. Now, in case a will, just like mine, says $0 to the spouse, and all dollars and all property to the children, look, there's a minimum statutory inheritance. And the surviving spouse has the option of informing the court that he or she will take statutory share rather than the lesser share provided in the will. So even though I gave her a big fat 0 on my will, right, in my will, a big fat 0, she has something called a right of election. The right of election is she can elect to take the minimum statutory inheritance, which is 1/3 of the estate. Okay? This is a right that's only reserved or available to a surviving spouse. By the way, a key word is surviving. Just saying. Right? Anyway. Yeah, the kids get everything. First, she has to survive. That's the first thing. And second, she has to know this. Easy. The plan is made already. Can a prenup stop that? Prenup is for divorce. It's not for death. But, good one. So the mother of my children did take this class. So, there are other ways. Anyway, so what was I saying? Daphne is asking, what is a statutory share? So that's what I was saying right here. She's entitled at least to 1/3. This is the statutory share. If she wants to, okay, everything goes to the kids, great. But if she wants to have the option of at least, hey, what do you mean he didn't leave me anything? Your Honor, I'm entitled to 1/3. I want my 1/3. Everything else can go to the kids. But my 1/3 first, right? She can do that. It's a right of election. And only a surviving spouse can do that. Okay? Got it? Carlos has this look. What am I going to do? I need to figure this out. Hey, Carlos. Where there's a will, there's a way. Yep. Daphne, question is coming. Let's see. So can the will state otherwise like spouse? No, that's exactly what I was saying. Look, when I started this section right here, Daphne, when I started here, I said that in my will, my kids get everything. I never mentioned the wife. So I left my wife $0. Everything goes to the kids, right? So that's the example I was giving, right? But then I'm showing you guys, I do it on purpose, like I prepared the storyline, right? Because I'm showing you guys, even though I put nothing to the spouse, she has the right to the minimum statutory inheritance. So she has the right to say, wait a minute, he left me 0. No, I'm entitled to the 1/3. But this is only available if I put 0, if I put nothing, or even if I put 1/4. She's actually entitled to a little bit more. But it's only a right of election to a surviving spouse. She can either want it or not. You guys got it? Is this only in New Jersey? So every state has different rules. You should check out whatever the rules are in the different state that you're inquiring. But yeah. Andrea, very smart. Andrea goes, so if you don't want your wife anything, leave to her wife anything when you die, you should divorce her first. Where there's a will, there's a way, right? The problem is, as soon as you start the divorce, you might die first. So yeah, she's still entitled to this. Again, where there's a will, there's a way. Things do get complicated. Anyway. Next. All right, right on top. It says a will is different from a deed. Why? Because a deed transfers the interest in the property during the lifetime of the grantor, so while you're alive. But a will conveys no interest, right, in the property until after the death of the testator. So we already talked about this. A will only takes effect when you die, and that's a devise. That's an immediate transfer to the devisees or beneficiaries of this will, right? Now, to be valid, a, a deed must be delivered during the lifetime of the grantor. Let me address this real quick. I have to. Right here. Vanessa. Believe it or not, in every relationship that I've had since I was 17, right? That was like my first big, 16. Yeah, 17. First big relationship, right? Since then, I've been saying, and this is because of my mom, right? It's always stuck to me. I always said, hey, listen, do whatever's best for you, because tomorrow I might not be around. It's as simple as that, right? So I agree with this 100%, right? As a man, as a person, I agree 100%. Build your empire. Do not depend on me, because I don't know if I'm going to be here. I don't know if you're going to be here. So we shouldn't depend on each other. We should work together with a common goal, but I shouldn't depend on you. The same question I ask my buyers, hey, if you lose your job, can you afford the house? Can your spouse afford to pay? Right? The same way I ask that, I always say to any relationship that I'm with and all my friends and family, I always tell them the same thing. Make sure they have your own, just in case. Now, we're going to work together. So if you have your own, great. If I have my own, great. But if you depend on me, if I'm the breadwinner, and then I'm not here, for whatever reason, divorce, death, whatever, what's going to happen? How are you going to survive then? Especially now with 4 kids, how is that going to happen? Right? So it's definitely, Vanessa, definitely agree. Build your own empire so you don't need anything. I know you meant this in a different way. Yeah. Right? Is your husband there with you? He is? All right, make sure he reads this, okay? Just saying. Tell him. Yeah, bring him to the camera. He's there? She's building her own empire. All right? So whatever monies you guys have, it's hers. Just letting it, I mean, she's building her own. Be smart. You know what you got to do, right? I just explained. Watch this video and you'll know what you have to do. Oh, and Yanessa can notarize whatever I said right now. All right, next. Carl says, I say just to really upset her to leave to the... Carl's, I'm sorry. Ex-wife. Got it. I see a monkey at the end. I don't know. Yeah, ex-monkey. I was trying to figure out, but got it. Ex-wife. Got it. You can leave it to whoever you want. That's the beauty of a will. And that's why you need to know about this chapter, guys, right here. I'm going to start talking about the power of a will versus not having one, right? So, legal requirements of making wills. Something you got to remember. You have to be an adult, so 18 years old, right? Or older, right? And you have to be of sound mind when you do this. All wills must be in writing, and it must be the voluntary, free act of the person signing it, okay? Next. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there's a chapter where we talked about Dower and curtesy. Does anybody remember what Dower and curtesy means? Let me know in the chat. Dower and curtesy. Dower, men and women. Gil, thanks. Dower, courtesy, men and women. Dower goes to the wife, courtesy goes to the husband. Right. So D is for the W and C is for the H, right? D is for the wife and C is for the husband. Yep. Okay? Anyway. So if you remember Dower and courtesy, you like that. And it's a lot easier, man. It's a lot easier. For those of you that got it, it's a lot easier. I kept it PG, but it's a lot easier to remember that way. So, Lewis is laughing. So dower is the benefit that the wife gets, and courtesy is the benefit the husband gets. Yep. D is for the wife, and C is for the husband. All right. So if you guys remember dower and courtesy, this is prior to May 28th of 1980, correct? And prior to that, any property that we own while married, that we acquired while married, right? We would divide 50-50. That means if you die, I get your 50. If I die, you get my 50. So that means that once there's a death, right, the other party, the surviving party, becomes 100% owner. So you're entitled to 1/2 interest. So why do I stop here? Because we just talked about the right of election in New Jersey, right? The right of election is 1/3 now. But for property that was acquired before May 28, 1980, while married, okay, it's 1/2. So whatever was acquired after that, 1/3. Before that, 1/2. Okay? Courtesy, oh, you know what, Heather, I like yours. Courtesy for the chap, D is for the damsel. A lot simpler, a lot cleaner. Got it. Lewis, you want me to say again what about the 1/3 and the 1/2? Let me know if that's it, or if you want me to show you what Heather just said right here. Courtesy is for the chap. D is for the damsel. Okay. Okay. All right. So 1/3. Oh, what I was saying is, we just talked right here. Look, we just talked right here at the bottom about the right of election, right? So if I say $0 in the will, right, 0 property, then the surviving spouse has the right to claim 1/3 as the minimum statutory inheritance. But this is after May 28, 1980, because any property that was acquired before May 28, 1980, the surviving spouse is still entitled to 1/2 of that interest. That's what I was saying. Okay? So if it's a property we acquired while married before this date, then 1/2 for the surviving spouse. Any property after this date, because dower and courtesy was abolished on May 28, 1980, right? Any property acquired after that, then it's 1/3. Unless it's the main marital residence, if you guys remember that. If it's the main marital residence, if it's the house where we live, no matter what, it's 50-50. Whether it's before or after, 50-50. It's a house where we live. Okay? Have to remember that. All right. Almost done. Final run. This is where you guys should realize the power of having a will and the power of having insurance. Transfer of title by descent. So title to real estate and personal property of a person who dies intestate without having a will passes to the heirs. Under the descent statutes, the primary heirs are the deceased are his or her spouse, civil partner, domestic partner, or close blood relatives. Intestate real property is distributed according to where the property, so the state where the property is located. All right, Luz says that I froze. Am I frozen? No, it was her. It was her internet. Okay, cool. No, can't repeat it. I'm done. I don't know. I don't know where I froze. Let me know. What is the last thing that you heard or saw? You guys do know, like, there's a replay in the student portal. I'm just saying, right? She wants me to go over the whole thing. Luz, you're talking about here? This is where I froze for you? Before? Chapter 1, you said? After? What, here? I feel like she's frozen. Right here? Luz? Hello? Imagine I start explaining and she comes back, hey, you were frozen. Could you repeat again? That'll be really messed up. Right when I said I was almost done, I was here. This is when I said that. That's the final run. That's what I said right here. Okay? So what I was saying is that, you there, right? Okay, cool. So what I was saying is that title to real estate and personal property of a person who dies intestate, meaning without a will, passes to the heirs. In other descent statutes, the primary heirs of the deceased person are his or her spouse, civil partner, domestic partner, and close blood relatives. All right, then I came down here, and this is where I stopped. Are you still there? Wave. Okay, wax on, wax off. Okay, great. So, intestate real property is distributed according to the law of the state in which the property is located. This is very, very important. If you don't have a will, then the distribution of your assets will go according to whatever the laws are in the state where the property is located. So if you have property in a different state and you don't have a will, it's whatever they say. If you have property in New Jersey and you don't have a will, then it's whatever New Jersey says. Okay? So they have their own laws of descent and distribution. All right? Now, this law of descent and distribution only applies to the estate that remains after payment of all debts. So after probate. So remember, the distribution is only going to happen after we pay all the debts that are against the estate. Okay? Now, the laws of descent and distribution only come into effect if you have no will. Okay? Now, who's first? Number one, surviving spouse. Next page. Surviving spouse or partner becomes the sole heir if the decedent leaves no parents or children. Okay? If there's a child or children who are also children of the surviving spouse, the spouse or partner receives the first $50,000, and then it's half and half with the children. Okay? If the decedent leaves parents and a spouse but no children, then first 50 to the spouse, and then half and half with parents and the spouse, and so on. So what I'm trying to show you guys here is that every state has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step of who gets what, okay, depending on who's available. You guys got it so far? Let's go to step number 6. In default, so you're asking me, Mina, I think you're asking before, what happens to the property if you don't have a will, right? In default of any other natural heirs, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and first cousins may be considered heirs. Beyond that point, the entire estate goes to the state of New Jersey, or whatever state it might be, by escheat. What does escheat mean? They're cheating you out of your property because you are too lazy to prepare. Oh, sorry. You did not want to prepare a will. Okay? Okay, very important. Go get a will. That's what I'm telling you. You know why? Because of this that I'm about to read right now. Ready? Gil, if you hate everyone, listen. Let me be your heir. Okay? Not Jordan Sparks type of heir. Let me be your H-E-I-R, heir, okay? So I'll get your property. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Your whole DJ equipment, I got it. All right? But check this out, guys. Right here, very important. The state treasurer will sell such property at a public sale, giving notice by publication in the newspaper in Trenton, so capital, right? And in the newspaper in the county where the property is located. Not bad, right? So they put it in the newspaper, so you should be aware that the sale is happening, right? The proceeds of the sale are held for 1 year. But this is not what matters to me. What you guys need to pay attention and why you need to have a will is this right here. If nobody claims the property or the money, the proceeds of the sale, if nobody claims it within 1 year after that, if nobody claims within a year, the funds belong to the state. All because you do not have a will prepared. See, if I have a will, I'm telling you how to handle the assets. If you don't have a will, the state determines who gets it. You guys got it? That's why I'm always focused on people getting a will. And obviously life insurance as well. Yep, it goes into abandoned property, absolutely. You guys got it? Any questions? Let me know if you have questions. Drop them in the chat right now before I proceed. Daphne, all right. So while Daphne is typing, I have a question. Who's going to prepare a will tomorrow? All right. Who's going to get life insurance tomorrow? I mean, if you guys want to give everything you have to the state of New Jersey, I mean, go ahead, or whatever state you're in, go ahead, no problem. Tidy says, I've got a lot of debt. Can I leave it to my heirs? Listen, just make sure you get insurance, life insurance, and your heirs don't get the debt. Nope. Gil says, on time, I have a hot date. Hot Pockets do not qualify for hot date, okay? Anyway, any questions besides Daphne's question coming through? Lewis, if you have questions, let me know. We're about to be over with the session. Gil says she's blind. So it's a hot date or a blind date or both? Yamili says, the insurance company has been calling me for life insurance. Well, Yamili, if you don't have it, let me know. I can give you no cost, no obligation financial needs analysis. If you have one, I'll review it as well. So we do have the insurance company, and we'll do all this for free. We're not looking for you to change. We're just trying to educate people, just like I'm doing here in the class, educate people about the power of having those things. And I'll tell you that because I've suffered from the same thing. My grandfather passed away, unfortunately, no will, no insurance, and I got stuck with debt, right? My uncle was alive, so we were getting funds to pay for the property because he was the other heir, right? But then he died a couple of years later, and now I'm stuck with the debt. So now I have to worry about property in Portugal, and I have to worry about my properties here, and I have to worry about everything else. So it's a lot of stress. All right, and that's why you should have life insurance, right? That's why you should have a will and have everything prepared, right? My mom, before she died, she had everything. So she even called me, and I ignored it completely. She goes like, hey, Bruno, all right, just to let you know, when you come home, if anything happens to me, when you come home, it's right here, right there, that drawer, everything is labeled, boom. Sure enough, when she passed away in 2012, right, I went to Portugal, everything was there. It was very easy. Okay, 4 years later, my grandfather passed away, nothing, big mess. 3 years after that, my uncle passes away, nothing, big mess. All right, so guys, you need to think about this. It's not about you, it's about the survivor. All right, it's about the spouse, it's about the kids. Right, that's why we need this stuff. It's not about you, it's about who stays behind. They're already suffering from the loss, right? And now having to handle the paperwork and having more debt and more stress, right? Think about it. That's what it is for. Okay? So, Yamili, guys, we would have to sit down and go over, or maybe schedule a Zoom or something for that. So if you don't have it, we'll talk about it. If you have it, I'll review it. Again, no cost of obligation. I really don't care about that. I care about people being prepared. So just send me a message separately and we'll talk about it. Not a problem. All right, let's go over questions. I got a question from, okay, previous stuff. So if anybody wants to leave, you're welcome to leave. We're done with the session. Those of you that are staying behind, they have questions. I will address those questions. I'll stay here as well, okay? If anything, tomorrow, 5:30, we start again, okay? All right, we got some good nights. There you go. Thanks, Lewis. I appreciate it. All right, so Lewis' question. The part that says, to be valid, good night, guys. To be valid, a deed must be delivered during the lifetime of the grantor. If it means if somebody dies, does it not apply because of the will? So when we're saying that the deed, unfortunately I cannot show you the screen for the YouTube chat. But when we're saying that to be valid, the deed must be delivered during the lifetime of the grantor, is because while I'm alive, I can grant the property to somebody, and that goes through a deed, right? So if I die and the deed was never delivered and accepted, right? So there has to be delivery and acceptance. We talked about this, right? Then the will supersedes the deed because the deed was never delivered, therefore never accepted. So yes, Lewis, if somebody dies, then it would not apply. The will would take over, absolutely. So if there's delivery and acceptance, then guess what? The deceased no longer owned the property because he or she sold while alive. So it's no longer part of the will, right? But if I died without delivering that deed, then the will takes over, whatever's in the will. Or, if there's no will, law of descent and distribution. Okay? You're welcome, Lewis. Any other questions, just drop it here. I'm going to go over the other questions I have here in the chat. Okay? Let's see what we got. Okay, this is right after Gil's hot date. Yet he's still here. Let's see. Right here. What does descent mean? Yep. So there's a descendant, the person that dies. The descendants, right, is whoever receives the property. So heirs, yeah, who's going to get whatever inheritance it is. Yep. Adverse possession. So we talked about that in chapter 6. Adverse possession is squatter's rights. It's easement by prescription. Is when somebody takes over somebody else's property, right, without their welcoming, let's say. So it goes against their will. So it's adverse possession is really what I call an abandonment claim. So if I don't show up and see my property for 20 years, clearly I have abandoned the property. So it gives the rights to the person that's been there managing for 20 years, maintaining the property, gives them the rights to go in front of a judge and say, hey, Your Honor, I've been looking for Bruno. Bruno never showed up. It's been 20 years. So can I keep the property? That's pretty much what you're doing. Okay? That's to sum it up. That's what it is. Let's see. All right, Gary. Yep. Claim the rights. Yep. What else? What else? What else? No other questions? Mina wants another example of the southeast and southwest thing slowly. So, Mina, there's a north, there's a south, there's an east, and there's a west. All right, so that was slowly the southeast and southwest thing. That's what you want to know? Let me go over here. So you wanted to know about this. That's right, I know. Let me know here first, what is your question with this? What do you want me to exactly explain here? Okay? As far as this right here, yes, the person takes the property legally. Yep. Legally. He's going to do it on purpose and not put in different lines just to mess up. Yep. Okay, I got you. All right, Vanessa, even if you marry, the state can take your property if you don't have a will. Well, here's the thing. If you married, is what I said before. If you married, then the first thing is it goes to the surviving spouse. Right? The law of descent means that they're going to give, like if you're married and you have kids, the first $50,000 goes to the surviving spouse, and then they split with children. But you have to claim it. Nobody's going to come looking for you. That's the thing. They'll put it in the newspaper, but nobody reads newspapers, right? So if your heirs do not claim it, then the state of New Jersey, or any other state, the laws are similar, they'll just take it. You got it? That's what it is. Daphne, yes, there has to be offer and acceptance. And Mina, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just addressing this because it's quick. So if somebody dies without a will, right, and the heirs are entitled to reject the inheritance, absolutely. There has to be offer acceptance. It is a contract. A will is a contract. I don't have to. I can reject the inheritance all day long, especially if it comes with a lot of debt, like Tidy's inheritance, like she said. I'm like, no, I don't want debt. You keep it. All right, take it to heaven with you. I don't want it. But if you accept one, you accept all. It's not like you could go there. Yeah, I want this property and I want this one, but I don't want that one. No, I don't want that one. You cannot pick and choose. It's not cherry pick. Okay. All right, so let's go here and see the second box. How do you get to the second box? Let's see if I understand. Mina? One box? Two box? Or one box and where's the other one? Second box. Daphne says that the video online is very helpful. Thank you. All right, Vanessa. Good night. Yeah. Well, Daphne, without a will, you can reject even with a will. You don't have to accept anything. Okay? Mina, I'm waiting for you. I don't know if... I'm trying to understand. I was really trying to understand which box you're talking about. How do I get to the second box? What do you mean? Do you want the mic so you can ask, or do you want the mic so you can ask? Oh, okay, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
So the first box, you said the southwest, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one, how do you get the second answer? So like southeast, west, whatever. Like,
so you're talking
so
like
right now it's southeast.
You're talking about this southeast.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
you're asking how I get to this one?
Yeah, how do you get the answer to that?
Okay, so let me go here. It's easier in the colorful ones. All right. So here's what you need to understand right here.
So I know the first one is southwest.
Yeah, so this is southwest, but if you see, this is the smaller box of all of them, right? This is part of a bigger box, which is the yellow part. It's a bigger box, right? And that bigger box is located, so if I were to erase all this right here, let's say the green does not exist. Let's say we have a bigger lot, right? Right here. Then tell me, where is this located now in this bigger box?
Northwest.
Boom. That's what it is. And now this box is part of this bigger box, right? So let's zoom out. Where's the bigger box located now if you look at it?
Northeast.
Correct. So how do you get to the second box or third box or so on? That's what I was telling you about, starting with the smallest one, right? Because all you have to do is always do these crosses right here for north, south, east, and west. And then you zoom out slowly and you get to the next cross, right? And you zoom out slowly and you get to the final cross. Does that make sense? So always start with the smallest one, which will be a lot easier. Some people start with the largest and go down to the smallest, but you don't have, so let's look at this one. You don't have the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter, right? Because it's not a bigger quarter of a smaller quarter. That doesn't exist. Quarters are always smaller, right? So starting with the smallest one and coming out to the biggest one is a lot easier. Good? All right? Cool. Any other question?
Not for that one.
Okay. I'm going to mute you for a second. If you have any other questions, drop it. Anybody else, guys, while we're live, take advantage. I'm here. Ask questions. Wait, Daphne left early? Miracle. All right. Anybody else? No questions? All right, guys. If there's no questions, then I'm going to end this Zoom session, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at 5:30. Those of you that are crazy enough to be there at 10 o'clock in the morning, Sarah, I will see you. All right, and Carlos as well. Great. Mina, you're going to be there too? Perfect. All right, guys. I'll see you in the morning. Bye. Oh. Coming back. There's another question. What's the other question? Nina. All right, Louis. Have a great night. We have one more question, so let's see what we got. If you want to stay, more than welcome. A few more minutes. Mina, hurry up. I'm getting paid by the hour, man. Come on. Type faster, faster. Oh, you're trying to do the practice exam, but you can't find it? Okay, cool. So you're going to go to, hold on. You're going to go to the membership area, student portal. Okay. You're going to scroll down to access course resources, right? And then on the right-hand side, it says right here, look, if you completed 90% of the course, at least 90% of the course, then test yourself. See where you are. So you click on test yourself, and it's going to take you to my testing site. Right? And you're going to put your information. You get to test yourself, practice with a salesperson exam, with mine, not with other websites, Heather. Right? So she's still there. so you can practice with mine. You should have seen her eyes. But it's all in the student portal, okay? So take advantage and test it out. The only ones showing were the chapter quizzes. No, right here, all the way at the bottom. All right, you have access the course resources, recommended books, and all that stuff. It's right there. And then it gives you, once you click on it, it gives you all these options: YouTube channel, Quizlet, and so on. All right, waiting for it. There's unlimited tries, yeah. If it stops you for any reason, if it says no, let me know and I'll unblock the access. Okay, but it should be unlimited tries. Okay? All right. Heather wants to give you the site that she uses, the site that it's not our site. Okay? So wait a second, because she's about to post the site. Go ahead, Mina. Tell her. Tell her. No, I don't want it. Thank you, Mina. Heather. He says he's loyal. All right, cool. Thank you. All right, guys. If there's no other questions, then I'm finally ending the session for tonight. I will see you guys at the next session. All right? Have a good one.